Hello, everyone. And to start tonight, I'm just going to briefly introduce what we'll be discussing this evening, or morning, or wherever time it is, wherever you are. I'll be discussing the new emails that have come out that were between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, as well as Jeffrey Epstein and Michael Wolff, who was a journalist, and we'll be discussing the contents of them. And as well as that, we'll be discussing David, or D4VD, however you pronounce it, the rapper, who's underage. Well, I would call it his victim, his abuse victim, because she's a child. I wouldn't call it his girlfriend because it's kind of legitimizing abuse kind of thing. I wouldn't call her that. His victim was found deceased in a car badly decomposed that was rented by his manager. So we'll be getting into that as well after. And hopefully we'll be joined by some people, maybe Alex Erickson and perhaps Cher and some others. So hopefully we'll be able to have that as well. And so we've got a lot to get through. And to start with, the main takeaway, the main headline that we've been seeing is Epstein calls Trump the dog that hasn't barked in an email to Maxwell in 2011. And I believe that's the only kind of person related to the whole scandal that there hasn't been there hadn't been any news articles linking Trump to it at the time. So I think that was the logic. And then he went on to talk about how Trump had spent hours with Virginia Giuffre during time that they had at parties and stuff, and meetings that Epstein was at properties owned by Epstein. But it has to be said that Giuffre always said that Trump never abused her in any way. And she's been very transparent about her experience with Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein, or former Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein. So there's no reason to believe she's lying about Trump not doing anything criminal with her. So that has to be said. But we have to pose questions as to why this has been kept under wraps for so long, and also why possibly it could have been and who has been keeping it quiet, and what else may come out, because we also know now that it could be as early as December that the whole Epstein files are released. They could all be released as early as them. It's unlikely that they will, but it's certainly possible that it could happen. And God only knows what will be found in all of them, and the names that will come out, and the careers and the lives that will be ruined and embroiled in scandal. Clearwater Gacy. Jay Word of advice: the Duke's friends are all Zionist boomers. I stand up for Palestinian people, but his mod doesn't. That's an unrelated thing. Me and John had a little bit of a tiff, a fallout over. John used to stand up for Palestine and Palestinians' rights, but then changed because one of his mods. This is Stuttering John from the Howard Stern show. He often comes up in conversation here, but yeah, John, just to get so you understand what I'm talking about. John does YouTube, and one of his mods is pro-Israel, and it's not that I'm completely against the state of Israel existing, but I believe that Palestine has a right to exist too. And John thinks that you can't have both now because his mod told him that it's offensive. But it's a whole conundrum because John stands for Ukraine and wears a Ukraine flag, but that could offend Russians. So, you know what I mean? So it's a give and take. But yeah, hopefully that can all get cleared up. I think it might just be a misunderstanding. But yeah, I digress. Back to the emails to do with Trump and Epstein. It can be said that Trump didn't do anything, and there's nothing in there that would suggest that he did wrong. But my view is that his cover-up or the potential cover up of this and attempts to bury this was mainly due to maybe he didn't want to be called as a material witness and have to talk about all this, and it could be bad PR. But also, there's this perception in the public of guilt by association on a lot of things, and that's just one of those things. I think that it's a very interesting concept, and yeah, I believe Israel should exist, but not in favor of wholesale slaughter of innocent people. Yeah, that's exactly what I think. You know what I mean? And I think that, like, despite anything that Hamas does, it doesn't justify just carpet bombing the place. You know what I mean? And I think that John needs to see the nuances between, you know, you can have sympathy for Israeli people, but not support the government. Like, you can have like sympathy for people in Gaza, but not support Hamas. That's exactly what I'm saying. But my issue with him is that he equates, this guy's gotten into his head, and he equates any kind of support for Palestinian rights now as being offensive to Israeli people, when really it shouldn't be, and really it isn't. You know what I mean? The two countries can exist, you know what I mean, simultaneously. It just needs to be some level of understanding between the two of them. You know what I mean? And that gets lost in the current world we live in, where it seems like the people in power are really being nudged towards all-out war and all-out conflict, and that's something that I think needs to be, you know, we need to be wary of, because a lot of leaders who've said, like Trump, who said we're not going to get involved in these wars and things like that, suddenly are, and it makes you wonder why. You know what I mean? So maybe it's to do with potential blackmail or fears of blackmail that Israel might have on him. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of possibilities, you know, because I strongly believe that Epstein was working, you know, for Israel. Certainly, I think he was recruited by them because of his contacts with, you know, powerful people all over the world. You know what I mean? So why wouldn't they want to recruit him? You know what I mean? Any intelligence agency could probably have had him under their leash, you know what I mean, because of the nature of his life. You know what I mean? He was a guy who met everyone, and you see this in the emails. You know what I mean? It shows you how connected Epstein was with Trump, and well, not just Trump, but political people and powerful people in general. That the author Michael Wolff emailed him saying, "Look, if we can get Trump to say that you, meaning Epstein, are the victim of cancel culture, and that really these things aren't as bad as what they say they are, then you can gain some political credibility." And that Michael Wolff felt that that could only be achieved if Trump was willing to admit closeness to Epstein. But Trump adopted, I think, rather foolishly, an attempt to distance himself and downplay his closeness with Epstein as much as possible. If I was Trump, I'd have come out and been transparent as early as possible, because, like, now it just looks like he's guilty of hiding shit, when really I think he was only kind of hiding what he may have suspected or may have seen, because of guilt, the feeling of guilt by association that's in a lot of people's eyes. And I think Trump is a very divisive character, and there's a lot of people that any kind of thing that they can use to throw at him, they'll take. So I think that it's out of a mixture of faith and that, and just general lack of courage to actually face up to his connections to someone who did such like messed up stuff. You know what I mean? And as the president of essentially the free world, he really needs to be more transparent. You know what I mean? And he was elected on a platform of transparency, you know, and that's the thing. I think that a lot of his base, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, are getting disenfranchised by the fact that these traits, these key values that he campaigned on, he's kind of departed from, and it feels kind of greasy, to be honest with you, to use a slang term. And like, it makes you wonder why that is. You know what I mean? Is it because, you know, he's been threatened, you know, by blackmailers or by people to rein it in, you know what I mean, so to speak? Or was this his intention from the beginning? It's difficult to tell in politics. It's very difficult to tell what people actually intend or what people actually feel deep down. You have to really see inside their heads, and that's impossible to do. But yeah, as well as this, we can discuss the fact that I'm really curious as to know what Maxwell and the officials that were sent to visit her in the prison discussed. I am very, very interested to know exactly what she said that got her this better treatment, because initially she was in a high security prison serving 20 years, and she's still on 20 years currently, but I don't think that she'll serve all of it. And Maxwell was met by people from the DOJ and possibly federal agents to discuss things which haven't been disclosed. And I think maybe and now she's been moved to a lower security prison where they train dogs. So she has a very cushy life now, which makes you wonder exactly what she said to them. I personally believe that it's her. She's probably said that she would be willing to come forward in any kind of future prosecution against anyone in particular, should the need arise. I don't believe that would be Trump. It might be other people. They may try to go after former Prince Andrew now that he doesn't have his royal protection anymore. So I think that ultimately Andrew could be the one that they go after to kind of put this whole thing to bed, so to speak, because that would really, I guess, take headlines and I think settle people. But I don't think that will happen. I think that there'll be hearings about this. She may be testifying from prison remotely over video link to Congress about things. But I think that alone, you know what I mean, shouldn't be enough to get her to move from a high security place to such a real, easygoing regime, where she's just training guide dogs all day. So I am kind of wondering exactly what is down the line for her. And what exactly? Well, the thing is, she knows it all. You know what I mean? She was there the whole time. She was there when Trump spent this time with Virginia Giuffre, and like I already said, there's been no allegation that anything bad went on. But I think it has to be seen from as well the nature of Epstein, that he's saying, "Oh, Trump was here. He may not have done anything wrong," but he's immediately trying to use that. And from what I've heard from Epstein's victims in their interviews, has been that he was always letting slip to them about things he knew about powerful people, and that they said he got a kick out of knowing all this stuff about various powerful people and political leaders. So it's perfectly possible that he made stuff up or gave the impression of that, and like the perception of having power over people through information. And just because Trump was there doesn't mean he did anything wrong. But I think, knowing now what we know, just him being there can be damaging. You know what I mean? Because, like I've already said a bunch of times, guilt by association can be a powerful thing. And image and PR is everything in politics. So it's a good reason why Epstein could think he could hold it over Trump. And new things have come out as well to do with former Prince Andrew and his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson, and their continued relationship with Epstein after they said it had already ended. And it can be established that Sarah Ferguson spent time at at Epstein's house in New York in 2014, long after his first conviction and long after she said that she cut off any kind of contact with him. And this is a woman
who used to head like charities to stop trafficked women. So the irony isn't lost on anyone that shouldn't be. You know what I mean? Because uh, she was heading something and was actually heading something that was supposed to be stopping trafficking, and while staying at the home of a guy who was convicted for sex trafficking. You know what I mean? So it shows you the hypocrisy of these people and the real kind of, I think, detachment from any kind of morality. I don't think it's the case for everybody who's rich and powerful that their morality is totally detached. I think you can be wealthy but also be moral at the same time. I don't believe this line that just because you're rich you're a bad person, or just because you're rich you've had to screw people over. I think you can become wealthy and through ethical means, you know what I mean, without any kind of manipulation or you know, thievery or criminality to do with it. I think that there are ways you can do it legit, and I think that I think it has a lot to do with how you gain your money, that it influences your personality. So a lot of people who are aristocrats, who are these elites, obviously Epstein had a lot of, well, what Epstein was, he was the money man, so he would, I think, look after people's money who were friends of his, who were very rich, very wealthy investors, who, maybe they didn't want it to be seen in their accounts, and he'd look after them for them and take a commission. And that's where he basically made his money from. So for the most part, he was a self-made man. Whereas Andrew, obviously, the former prince, was a royal. You know what I mean? Is a royal. He was born into it. You know what I mean? But I think the mentality of both of these guys is the same. So I think maybe it's to do with these two had personality issues long before adulthood, on this power with wealth that came with their adulthood only added fuel to an already burning flame inside of them that they did nothing to put out, because of like ego and arrogance. So this is an interesting topic to think about. But yeah, I hope we get joined by some of the possible guests we have on tonight, but I don't mind doing the whole thing solo. I know a lot of people do. So, oh, hey, sorry, busy time here, homework, dinner bath. I missed the first few minutes. Oh, no worries, Alex. If you want to hop up, you're more than welcome to. You have the link, but if not, I'm really happy you could make it in chat, and you didn't miss too much. I just kind of went through some stuff to do with Stutter and Jam, which is unrelated to all this, kind of. But then I discussed about the contents of the emails between Epstein and Maxwell, and also Michael Wolff, who is writing a book. So that's basically the gist of what I've been doing so far, and. But now I'm going to change focus and go on to David D4VD, and then go back if you want to join on, and I'll discuss more about Epstein and stuff. And Cher and Mark as well might be joining as well. So we've got a lot going on. But I know Cher's got a handful at the moment. Her panel's pretty hectic at the moment. But yeah. So to introduce for D4VD, or David, as people might not know, he's a young rapper, and as I already said in the introduction, as I briefly went over, his 14-year-old abuse victim, because I'm not going to say girlfriend, because that's like I already said, that's problem. I know people who go, oh, it's woke to say problematic, but I think that is kind of problematic, because she's a child, you know what I mean, and he's an adult, and you don't. That's not a relationship. That's abuse. You know what I mean. So I'm not going to try and legitimize it by saying girlfriend, because it's not. It's abuse. That's what it was. That's how I see it. I think that's how most people see it. But yeah, he was abusing this girl, and they were, that was known to be going on, and it's a really sad case, and she was found in a car that was rented by David's manager. And welcome, Alex.
Hello. I
So
don't
glad.
know what's
Sorry.
wrong with my phone. I did like it. My StreamYard account didn't pop up. I had to do like a whole new picture and stuff. So I just did a recent picture of my phone, but that's why it's a tree. But
No
hello.
worries. I was wondering at first. I was like, "Is this the right Alex?"
Yes. It's just the most recent picture in the top of my list. So I was like, okay, there, trying to be quick.
Yeah, it's strange how StreamYard makes you put on your own pic rather than just using the one you use for YouTube.
Yeah, and usually, because I'm logged in, and usually I have like 10 pictures that are saved that will come up, and none of that came up this time. It was like, I don't know, but
It's really interesting, but yeah, it's really. Have you seen the emails about from that have came out with Epstein?
no, I have not got to catch up on that yet. So I was gonna like, I only got a few minutes that I can be up here. I'll be in the chat the rest of it, but so I don't have too much on that. I haven't got to catch up yet. I'm interested for sure, but I've seen a few videos regarding Trump and that. But like I was gonna, you were getting onto the David thing, and that is just I'm kind of blown away that it doesn't look like there's going to be charges, and I was curious what you were going to get into with that. So
Oh well, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for pulling me back into where I was
that's
going.
okay.
It's my crazy brain, but yeah, thanks for that. But yeah,
Oh, me
uh,
too.
it's it's good to have someone on here for that. But yeah, Amber's here. Thank you for coming, Amber. I know you can't join, but thank you for being in chat. I really appreciate that. But yeah, for the David, it's really interesting. The fact that he hasn't been charged. Do you know what I mean? As far as I know, he's not been pulled in for questioning yet, but he's lawyered up with Blur Burke, she's like the lawyer, the top woman lawyer in America. I say the top female defense lawyer. I think she's the best. Even though she didn't get Weinstein off. I don't think anyone could have got Weinstein off his charges. But she
Right.
is a very, brutal defense lawyer, and he's lawyered up with her already. And I think that says a lot. That sends a message to LAPD. Says, "Come and get me if you dare. I've got Blur." Alex,
They
sorry.
didn't expect homicide charges in the near future or something. They put out a statement.
Yeah, you know what I mean. They're talking about possible charges. I mean, I think he could be charged, but I'm worried. I have a fear that he may get off. You know what I mean? I think he may get away with this due to the nature of it all. It's too, unless they can get hard DNA proof that he caused the death. You know what I mean? It's a car that isn't even. Yes, it's his manager, but and he was using that car as well. So that is a key thing in this. He had used it. You know what I mean? And it was found abandoned. So there's a lot of questions here, and Cher has a lot of interesting opinions on it. And honestly, I think personally, it was a drug crazed sex party that went way too far, and she OD'd, and they panicked, and I think that they mutilated her after.
Well, I mean, shouldn't he at least be charged with like some kind of sex charge? Or because the
That's what I'm
underage.
saying. That's what I'm saying. It's bizarre. You know what I mean? Like, friends of his have said, yeah, they were together. And what does together mean? You can only assume sex. You know what I mean? Like, he's a grown man. Why would a grown man just want to hold hands? You know what I mean? Like, as an adult,
Mm-hmm.
you don't. When you're with a woman, you know what I mean. You don't just or whatever. You know what I mean? You don't just want to hold hands and run around and chew bubble gum with each other. You know what I mean? You want to be intimate. You know what I mean? And in his messed up mind, you know what I mean? He saw what a normal man would see in a woman, in a girl, and you know, friends of his said it, and you know what I mean. And you can only assume that was going on, you know what I mean. But like, it seems
Yeah.
like because
Surely there's more proof too.
yeah, I mean, videos of them from his live streams where they're all cuddled up together. It doesn't look creepy at all. You know what I mean? And uh, there's a possibility maybe she threatened to like report him, and like they had an argument, and it something like that, or there's so many possibilities of what could have happened. But I'm totally in agreement with you, Ali. Like how they couldn't have charged him for at least the sex crimes or on suspicion of that, you know what I mean? Because it's blatantly obvious they've got enough to do that, with how, you know, that they were known to be that close, and she was staying over there all the time, and he was calling her his girlfriend to his friends and lying about her age, saying she was of age so that it didn't seem weird. You know what I mean? Like, why else would he do that? So if they were doing stuff, probably were, and he was abusing her, the people around wouldn't see it that way.
Right.
They would see it as just a guy with a woman, you know, a man with a woman,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Nothing untoward, you know. And it's just poor girl, you know what I mean? Poor little girl, you know what I mean? And I'm angry at the parents as well for just, you know, for being so neglectful, you know what I mean? And just, you know, being so flippant with her missing persons case. You know, she was there, she wasn't there. They didn't report it to the police that she came back to the authorities when she hadn't been gone the whole year. They say she was been missing for a year, but she come back, and there's TikTok videos where she got in a beef with, I think you might have gone over this video, and I think it was either you or someone else, where she was on a TikTok video where she was like arguing with some pranksters. Was that you?
No, I didn't. I did show a different video that I had seen of them that was just like a real quick, it was just her real quick. Like he pushed her out of the frame of the camera almost, but no, I don't think so. Actually, wait, was that the one where they were arguing with those other people?
Yeah.
Maybe they were. Yeah, maybe that they were. I'm sorry, my brain.
I think that
took
was
me a
your
second.
live, yeah.
But it was so quick with her, I didn't really see it as much as her being, I guess, I don't know. The way you described it just hit my ears weird, I guess. I'm sorry. But yeah,
don't
I
worry.
did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like they were all standing there kind of going back and forth, but it was more him going back. Like it was almost like he was aware that she shouldn't be caught on the video or something. And like, remember, he kind of like pushes her out of the frame.
That's the guilty conscience right there. He knew that like she's underage, you know what I mean, and this isn't good, you know what I mean, and it's just so sad. But like, yeah, she was in Vegas at 13 doing all this kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, were her parents, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
why were they letting this happen? Why, you know, it's not like it was a secret where she was. It, you know, friends of hers knew locally that about all this, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's just such neglectful parents.
Well, I mean, I have a 16-year-old Jay, and I know where he's at all times. I know every second because we have Life 360, and I can tell you what, he definitely is not allowed to just come and go. He's not even allowed to go to his friends all the time, like maybe every couple weeks or something. We have strict rules, but for a good reason, and he's much older than she was, or at least several years. And yeah, like, I'm sorry, the video thing still, I guess I was just so focused on like him pushing her out of it that the other people in it, it took me a second to think about them even being in it or something. But anyways, yeah, there's no reason that they couldn't have better, have her under control a little better, as parents should with their teenage kids.
Oh, I completely agree. You know, it's such a dangerous world that we live in, with like drugs being full of fentanyl and predators and traffickers everywhere. You know what I mean? It's so you're not even safe. They're not even safe in the home anymore because they've got the internet and they can get them through that. So it's being that flippant and laissez-faire with your kids' safety is only going to end in bad things happening. You know what I mean? And they're not to blame, but they could have prevented anything like this from even possibly happening by keeping a closer eye on it. You know what I mean? Because this doesn't just happen without neglect. You know, it's
More
or some
structure.
other issues going on at home that may have led her to want to leave. So
Yeah.
and
It's
it's
so
an
sad.
interesting concept. It's really so sad. But I was watching. It's kind of related, like an old like Sally Jesse Raphael episode. Do you ever watch that show?
Oh my God. Jay, yes, I did. And did you see Glammy dressed up as her?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny that you were watching and Glammy was just dressed up as her because she looked just like her. But
Glammy's funny. Glammy's funny. I'm so glad that her and Mr. Glammy, or her husband, I don't forget if she calls him Mr. Glammy or not, but like whatever, they're doing well, you know, and she's doing well. But yeah, I've been kind of checked out of like local live stuff, but like I like to check in on them all every now and then.
yeah.
But yeah, it's like Sally Jesse Raphael. Like there's a show on there about like teenage runaways, and this was in the 90s. And like I was so shocked about the difference in attitudes of then versus now. Like the audience was like just trashing these teen girls for having sex and doing drugs and just not even contemplating that maybe there's something wrong at home with their family life that has driven them to that. And these things don't happen when a kid's like having an emotionally stable life, you know, and a healthy home life, and being listened to, and possibly, you know, having their possible mental health issues addressed. You know what I mean? All these things, this change, you know what I mean? Whereas then it was all shame, like a lynch mob almost, you know what I mean? Like a witch trial. Like that's what it felt like. And this is all women doing this. Yeah, you'd expect it from like some men, maybe, you know what I mean? To be that, you know, oh, look at that whore, you know what I mean? She's just a whore, you know what I mean? Like not all men, of course, obviously, I'm not saying that, but like some, you know what I mean? But this was a studio audience full of all like middle-aged moms. You know what I mean? Like,
I bet that was interesting to see.
like
I
how,
like to see that.
and also younger people as well, like just like yelling abuse at these girls, and like I just feel bad for such a parallel to like Celeste and to so many other runaway girls, and like you see this in the music industry as all the time, like what they called groupies, that was abuse. Those were underage children, you know what I mean? And they glamorize it, and it's not glamorous, it's sick, it's wrong, you know what I mean? And this, you know, I had to come to terms as a music fan. I'm a musician. That's what I do for a living, primarily, you know, and DJ. But like, music is my life. It's my passion. You know what I mean? And there are artists that have meant a lot to me that I know did things like that. You know what I mean? With underage girls. You know what I mean? And you know, when you're reading about this when you were younger, it's completely glamorized and like portrayed in a way that to make it seem like it isn't as bad as it really is, when it is. It's so bad, you know what I mean? And I think that I'm glad that society, I think, has moved on in the way it looks at these things more. But sadly, obviously, it still happens. But I think as a society, we respond better. You know?
We definitely respond better. Okay, so I have to jump down in a second and just watch from chat because a lot going on here with the kids. But
no worries.
before I go, let me ask you, like, it does kind of tie the two things together if you think about it. David and the Epstein, we're talking about rich, wealthy, powerful, you know, taking advantage of young women and girls and boys. What did the emails what were the major takeaways for you that you could just think of, like off the top of your head, from what they've shown?
Thank you. Like, I'd just like to say thank you so much for coming up, and I really appreciate your time, Ali. And I know as a mother that, you know, you've got your hands full, and you have your live coming up as well, which I hope everyone who's watching will go to, where you'll be discussing some and reacting to some rude comments. And
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, it's a shame
Okay.
that you have
No,
to
I
deal with
appreciate
that.
it, you, and thank
But
you for
thank,
there isn't too many. There's only a few. There's a few I want to
yeah,
go through and then just hang out and kind of chat
laugh
and
about it. Yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, like great question that you asked, and my main takeaway from the emails is that uh, Trump was a lot closer to Epstein than he ever said he was, but that he spent time with Virginia Giuffre for hours, and that's what Epstein was saying. He said Trump was the dog that hasn't barked to Maxwell in a 2011 email, which means he's the person linked to all this, that there's been no media stories relating to him. And he was like, he spent hours
Mm.
with Virginia Giuffre, but Virginia Giuffre, before she died, she said that Trump was a gentleman to her and never abused her, and there was never anything sexual between them. That they just talked, and
Oh
that
wow.
she's been transparent about Andrew, who is a powerful man and could have easily had her harmed. So there's no, I don't believe that she would be
Has a
covering
reason
for
to
him.
lie. Right.
No, she had no reason to lie. It was completely
Wow.
transparent. But I think Trump's and the attempted cover up of his closeness and him wanting to distance himself is down to the fear of guilt by association. And as a politician, PR is everything. And Trump's a
Yeah.
divisive figure. And there's a lot of people that give them a crumb that's something bad about Trump, and they'll take it and they'll run with it and they'll push it everywhere and they'll use it.
True.
And that's what he was scared of. And that's the story here. Not that there's any proof that he abused anyone, but there's proof that he tried to
Interesting.
play down. It really is play down his connections and his, because at the very most, he may have suspected that Epstein was, at the very least, you can say that he had to have had suspicions that Epstein was doing things that were not totally above board. You know what I mean? And you can
Right.
ask the question, why didn't he say anything about it? Why didn't he report this? And like possible fears of being called to testify, and he might be asked those questions at some point there in the future. You know what I mean? So anything's possible, but and he might not want to answer them. But personally, I think Trump should have just been transparent from the get-go and said, this is
That's
the extent of
crazy.
our relationship. But honesty doesn't go well in politics, I think.
Well, you
It
know
doesn't
what?
mix.
Like even on YouTube, like in a small scale of you watch some of these dramas and things happen. The truth oftentimes doesn't even matter because a rumor will catch so much like attention or will catch on so much. We'll have so many people talking about it, like it becomes the truth. And the real truth is there's no story, but it doesn't matter because the story is the story that's caught on and so many people believe anyways. And then once you do get the truth out, it doesn't matter anyways. Like I don't know, it's just so I could see why you would want any relationship and want to distance yourself completely because just being connected at all could cause a lot of problems.
100% completely agree, Ali. And you're right in how you compare it to like this YouTube stuff. It's like I think oftentimes the truth, quote unquote, is set by the victors or set with the people who have the most money or who win the wars or who win the popularity contests or whatever. And that doesn't necessarily make it the truth. You know what I mean? It's a
Yep.
narrative. You know what I mean? Truth is, like you say, you dig in deep and it's in between the lines and it's complex and it's multifaceted and it's really simple,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
but yeah, if
Uh,
you wanted to jump down now, I think you do,
Okay.
don't you?
Yes, I gotta go, but thank you so
Yeah.
much for
I
having
wasn't
me.
kicking you
And
off. I just knew you wanted to
no,
leave and I didn't want to keep
no.
you in feel like you were being rude, or anything leaving. But yeah, thank you for so much for coming up.
Well, thank you for asking me. And usually, like at nighttime, because of like homework, bath times, dinner times, all that stuff, that's why I've been doing my lives like a little later. During the week is tough, but when you're on at another time or on the weekend, I'll come up for longer. And I wish I could have stayed longer tonight. So I apologize, but thank you for having me and asking me to be here. I
Well, that's
appreciate it.
excellent. It's great, and like anyone who would like to come up, you know what I mean, and would like to do that, you know what I mean. You just gotta let me know in chat, and anyone, you know what I mean. Like I like to have a variety of different people on, and Alex has got a really great true crime channel where she handles cases with respect and dignity. And it's refreshing because, you know, you've got loads of crime channels and people who really milk these cases for their own gain, you know, and it's nice to know that there's a community of people like Amber and Cher and Alex who really take this stuff seriously.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Thank you again. And I'll
Thank you
talk
so
to you
much.
soon. Okay. Bye.
Bye bye. Hi, Diva Girl. So glad you could join us. And thanks again, Alex, for coming up. And really appreciate that. And thanks, Amber, for being in chat, and everyone who's watching. You know, I really appreciate you being here. You know, I'm not going to be on for too much longer because Alex does have her live starting in about 15 minutes. So it won't be an extra long live, but I've generally gotten across the main points I wanted to cover anyway. But I guess I'm going to just ask questions of the chat now and what you guys think, and girls, about all this, both the Epstein stuff and the David stuff and things in general. You know, I think we're living in very interesting times. I believe that I think people in power are for the first time being held to account, you know, and people with real power are being held to account. And I think that will create a vacuum where people who have like genuine ideas and a will to change things can come forward and actually make some real change and do what I think the public really wants, you know, and to end this corruption and this secrecy around government and around everything, you know, and the media and the control of the media and this, I guess, mass brainwashing, you know what I mean, and groupthink. I think in the end, all this stuff is horrible, but it's a damn good thing that it's coming out. It's a damn good thing that we know about it, at least, because there's a lot of people who love to bury their heads in the sand and pretend that, you know, these sex trafficking, you know what I mean, abuse rings, corruption in government don't happen in our society. But these cases show clearly that they do, and we have to confront this stuff head on because it's an epidemic and it's a cancer, you know what I mean, and youth are the future. And if we still let powerful people or any person abuse the youth, you know what I mean, and abuse anyone, you know what I mean, we're corrupting our own society. It makes the spiritual fiber of our world almost tainted. If we have a society that enables and allows this, you know what I mean, it only spreads negativity and keeps us all in a lower state, in a lower form of consciousness. That's what my own personal belief is. But yeah, read some chat. So Ghislaine first said Trump didn't have anything to do with anything on the list, etc. But now might change it or no. Well, the thing is, I think she meant like he wasn't like. I think the list is a list of clients, and I like she's saying that she doesn't believe that he was a client because, like I said, they spent that time together. She said, where they, you know, talked for hours, as Epstein said, and that's they spent hours together. But like she, you know, it's implied that it was just talking because, as she said, nothing sexual happened, you know, and you've also got to think maybe Epstein just threw that in there or to make it seem like there had been some kind of liaison or abuse even between the two, and when there wasn't, when, like I said, there was just a chat between them, was just a meeting between them, or blew it up as maybe there was a small conversation, so it was hours, you know what I mean, to try and, like I said earlier in the live, Epstein was, you know, trying to pull rank on people, so to speak, and exercise power by threat, essentially, and intimidation. And, you know, that just by saying that, implying what that could mean, would have been damaging for Trump. And I think that was him trying to threaten Trump almost, or talk about them and Ghislaine talking about the possibility of using that to threaten Trump to get his support for them. And it's all very, very interesting. And now we have more comments. We have I've been watching from Diva Girl. Hi, Diva Girl. I have been watching Epstein news on YouTube on and off all day today, but I haven't heard any real updates on the Celeste case. Yeah, the thing with the Celeste case is that we keep hearing words that charges could be coming, or they might be, they might not be, and he has lawyered up. So with Blurb Burke, who used to be Weinstein's lawyer, who's a very powerful attorney. She's like probably one of the highest paid female defense attorneys in America, which is quite a feat, you know, because lawyers are very high paid. So he's really sent a message by going with her. I think it says a lot, to be honest with you. And with Epstein, yeah, there's lots going on with that. That's all over the place, and it'll just keep getting bigger, I think. But yeah, right, Amber, she is, in my opinion, a lot. Sorry, whoever that offends. Exactly, yeah. I don't think it offends anyone. So can I cut a promo on Shuli? I'll make sure it gets back to John. I don't want to give Shuli any time, but hopefully me and John can get things together, because honestly, I think we'll sort things out. I mean, I just think he's being a little naive over this whole thing, but I don't think his naivety on an issue like Israel and Palestine should really stop me from enjoying his lives. I think I'd be a bit of an idiot for that to happen. I'm always going to go in there and have a laugh with him. So yeah, there's no beef, but I think I have a little less respect for him now, because I thought he had some like strong convictions and strong views on things, but it seems like his views aren't that strong if they can be swayed so easily, you know. But yeah, that's all. That's all I have to really say about that. And that's what John does, his Forrest Gump impression. So that's a little thing for you, Clearwater Casey, and no one else will understand. But yeah, I agree, Amber. It's interesting the emails came right out after Andrew lost his title. That is very interesting, because I think, I said this earlier, that they're going to use Andrew to take the focus off all this to do with Trump, because honestly, what's going to be a bigger story? Andrew being forced to testify, or Andrew getting arrested, or something like that, or Trump, you know, possibly talking to Virginia Giuffre, you know what I mean, for hours, you know what I mean? Like, what's going to be the bigger story? And you notice that in world events, like something happens and then they do something to kill it off. They it's called like manufacturing a story, basically, social engineering, basically, where, you know, something's happened and you create something that's going to sell, that you want to bury, that the government or whoever want to bury, then you create a bigger news story that will bury it. So I think Andrew is the key to is very Andrew losing his titles, this coming out, both very closely related, because Andrew's lost his titles now, which means he has no royal protection, which means if America wanted to extradite him, the UK would have to follow it, because they have extradition treaties. If they do that, he's fucked. He's absolutely fucked, because technically, not even technically, he is a commoner now. He isn't a royal. He isn't important. He's got just the same amount of rights as I do, or as any other UK citizen, or anyone who goes there on holiday or whatever. vacation has, you know what I mean? He has no special privileges at all anymore. So he may be the person that they're going to use to put all this thing to bed. You know, he goes away because they thought, okay, we'll put Ghislaine away. That should be enough. And they're like, okay, that wasn't enough. Right, we'll put Andrew away. And, oh, that isn't enough. I can only imagine where it's going to go next. I can't imagine, you know what I mean? I wonder, you know, there's other names that we have been told that the Epstein whole files could come out as early as December. There could be many more names on that, of both Democrat, Republican, UK, US, all over the world, people, you know, and it's going to really shake up the world, and it will, I think, change countries, change the trajectory of history. All this just from a woman, you know what I mean, and women who were trafficked, who were abused, and who spoke out, just from them, you know, saying what was done to them, what the horrible abuses that were committed against them. Just by them having that voice, you know, that's bringing down this whole system that's existed for so long, that enables these things to happen. Because this isn't just a recent thing in our society where the people at the top have one set of rules, or no rules really, and the rest of us have to follow laws. This goes all the way back to ancient Babylonian society, Sumerian society in the Middle East. You know what I mean? These ancient societies before Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, how their societies ran was the people at the top would run by perversion and would run by degeneracy and sickness, and they would keep all the people beneath them enslaved to them and naive and unaware of what they did behind the scenes and what they were doing to them secretly. So those parallels can be drawn, and it can be said that such a sickness hasn't really ever gone away from our world since that time. And hopefully this is the first pillar that's going to break, and the rest will fall. And we can hopefully start the process of moving into a world where people who commit abuses against people, no matter who or where they come from or what their name is or how much money they have, they can and will be held accountable. And that's what we have to do as a society, I believe. And that's what we owe the victims. It's easy to say we can't let this happen again, but it's a long way to go before we can totally dismantle the power structures that enable this all to happen. And it's very intricate, and there's a lot of sinister reasons behind why this happened. It's not just for these people's lust. It's about, like we see with Epstein, entrapment, control, blackmail. And this is a network and a ring that goes all around. And he is an example of a situation, and there's many more like him and many more situations like that of world leaders who are blackmailed, people of influence who are blackmailed through these things. And we've got to ask ourselves, how does this reflect on us as the people outside the system, that the people who keep getting in the system are so susceptible to blackmail, are so susceptible to doing these things? You know what I mean? Like, I think we have to look at ourselves as well as them and think, do we want to be part of the plan? Do we want to keep contributing to this? Or do we want to say, hey, we want something different. We want leaders who are going to be a lot more transparent with us and a lot more, moral, I suppose, and have more integrity, which is what you kind of expect them to have. You know what I mean? I don't think it's much to expect, but yeah, I wouldn't have never have thought outside of the box, but I've not. I would have never thought outside of the box, but I've not found, if I hadn't found YouTube. Yeah, that's an amazing statement to make. I think social media and the free exchange of information on a global scale is a catalyst for how, in our time, they can't control what we read anymore as well as they could have in on our parents' day or our grandparents' day, when, you know, there's very selective television channels. There wasn't really computers, you know what I mean? And phones were very, you know, landlines or call party lines and whatever. You know, it's a very, very interesting time, and it's a very good that we can exchange information and views freely, and know that we don't have to always accept and have just the mainstream narrative on things. We can actually do our own investigations and draw our own conclusions freely, and that's what we should have always had in a free society. But now with this, we have the ability to have this choice and informed decision making that we just didn't have in the past. You know, when you think there was only a couple of TV channels and radio stations, you know what I mean? Like, how do you figure people are even going to have different points of view? You know what I mean? How is anything going to be? How was anything ever challenged? The reality is, it rarely ever was. You know what I mean? And in so-called democratic societies like Britain and America, you know what I mean, for a long time, the media was so controlled, and the mainstream media still is, you know. But we have Cher and Mark in the studio. So just before we wrap up, because Alex Erickson's going to be live, we'll have Cher and Mark on for a wrap up, just discussion where we go over it all. So I'm really grateful for everyone who's been here, and I'm glad you've stuck by me. But I'm going to bring Cher in right now. Here we go. Hi, Cher.
Hey, Jay.
How did your live finish? I saw it was a bit hectic.
You know what? It should have finished basically when I started it tonight, but we're gonna try again in the morning because I'm learning all kinds of stuff. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, it seemed very, very complex. You know,
Yeah. But Andrew said he's gonna let me interview him again. So that's been a few years since I've done that. So we'll get that done sometime this weekend.
That's great. That's great. That's a great update. You know, and I mean, it's so great that you can really do groundwork in your own work in your own time. The things that law enforcement really should be doing, and like the press, you're going out, you're interviewing people connected to cases, you're asking probing questions, you're digging deep, you're going to the source, you're going to these locations.
So nice. But yeah, I want to get back to doing exactly all of that, Jay. Yes, I really have a blast doing actual interviews with people that matter in these cases, not the drama BS. But I hate when I should have just not done it. Hey, Amber.
But yeah.
Hey, Kat. So, okay, did I miss a lot? I'm so sorry.
Oh, don't worry at all. Yeah, we basically, I went over everything that I was going to be discussing, but to summarize it, really, have you read the emails that came out between Epstein and Maxwell, as well as Epstein and Michael Wolff, the author, about Trump?
Not fully yet. I've just seen a couple of clips discussing them. So I'm gonna do that actually still tonight when I'm laying in bed here in a little bit.
But yeah, I'll let you read them all in detail, but yourself. But there was some parts where it seemed like, and this is an interesting thing that Michael Wolff suggested to Epstein to ask Trump to defend Epstein by saying, look, Jeffrey's just a victim of woke cancel culture, and this is just as a result of people being woke, and he never did any of those things. He's just a ladies' man, and it's just PC culture. That was legitimately what he did ask Trump to do.
So basically, what Trump has done for himself is what Epstein wanted from Trump.
Yeah,
and I mean, people could say.
And yeah, I just found that Epstein was at a White House in 2017. Yes, that is.
Oh, he was there quite a bit, if I'm not mistaken.
This is where he asked this, but Trump Trump's advisors, the people around him, told him to keep Epstein at arm's length. And I think that Epstein only got his foot in the door after his convictions because Trump was worried about him. Because, like I said, Epstein described Trump as the dog that hasn't barked. You know what I mean? Hasn't barked yet. So he meaning he was the guy who's been in this orbit who hasn't had any stories written on him yet about that whole scenario back in 2011 because he hadn't been connected to any of that yet. But he talked about Virginia Giuffre and Trump talking together for hours or being together for hours. But Virginia herself said that Trump never did anything sexual with her. So it's possible.
That's right. But you know what? She was probably paid off or scared. Or both.
That it certainly is possible, but I think if she's going to be scared of people, she should be scared of Andrew as well. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think if she was scared, she wouldn't have said anything about anyone really, because she could have just taken the money. Because I'm sure if she'd have gone to them and said, "Look, if you don't give me some money, I will go public with this, and it will ruin you," I'm sure they would have paid her something. You know what I mean? Or maybe had her bumped off. Killed her, but. It's that is also another rabbit hole that I want to do a live about, the quote unquote suicide, and I won't say unaliving because I don't give a bollocks. I'm not monetized. The suicide, the quote unquote suicide of Virginia Giuffre, because I have a lot of questions as to if it was a suicide or not, given
me too,
everything that she's said and known and experienced, and the power of her testimony and her words, and the powerful men that she's helped expose and bring down. There's many people with many connections that could easily have had her killed. Now, just think about, Andrew, you know what I mean? Connections to, and she was in Australia. Australia is in the Commonwealth, like Canada. So, special MI6 people maybe can operate there, and MI5 can operate around the, well, not MI5, but MI6 would operate around the, they can operate anywhere, but they're they're more likely to operate in Commonwealth countries like Canada or Australia, where she moved to and where she was found dead, than they would in a place like America. Because if it was found out that they were doing an op like that on US soil, it would be absolutely disastrous. But Canada or Australia, it's okay because they're in the Commonwealth. So that it's justifiable if an agent is found to be active there. You know what I mean? It would raise less eyebrows. But it's a very interesting concept. You know what I mean? I think she did not. I completely agree. She did not. I don't think, after releasing her book, getting that truth, have been believed and vindicated by that, and seen action being done, I see no reason why she do that. But obviously, she was very traumatized, and obviously, people can become overwhelmed by it all. But why now? Why then? After she come so far, why didn't she do it earlier on? If she was going to do it, you know what I mean? I don't think she did it. You know what I mean? I think she was in an upward trajectory in her life, and she had a new property away from it all, a nice kind of rural farm-like property, and she had money. Obviously, it wasn't going to take away the wounds of what had happened to her, but she didn't have to worry about working anymore, and she could just focus on healing. You know what I mean? And I think, I completely think she was assassinated. I think it may have been an intelligence service or a paid person off the books by Andrew or someone close to a friend of Epstein or someone on that list that is angry about that or worried that she would speak out, because she did say that she was abused by the former Israeli prime minister as well, not Netanyahu, a guy who I don't know his name off the top of my head, but I'll research it. But he was president in the 90s. He was accused of being very violent with Virginia, like biting her and beating her up and like brutalizing her, horrible. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of different people, and this guy's still alive, as far as I'm aware. And so there's a lot of people that would want her harmed. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, thanks for coming. You know what I mean, and sharing your thoughts. Like, what do you think? Who do you think might have done it?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think somebody had her killed for sure. Did you touch at all on the David thing? Did you watch about like I guess they're not finding what they say evidence on that David guy?
To me, it's really suspicious. Like, I think honestly, it's shady as hell. I think he, like I've said to you before, I think that this was some kind of like Hollywood drug freak party, and she OD'd, and because she's, you know, a minor, and he was abusing her. You know what I mean? Like, and there was possible, like, there was other people there and things like that, and like, you know, like they then chopped her up. You know what I mean? To try and dispose of the body. I don't think he personally did it. I think his manager was the guy who disposed of the body, and he stupidly put it in his car, rental car. You know what I mean? Like an idiot.
Thank God for the dumb criminals like that.
Yeah, thank God for dumb criminals, because our jobs would be a lot harder.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you ending your show then? Were you live already for over an hour? Holy
yeah. I'm gonna be coming. I'm just gonna start wrapping up now, because Ali's starting a live. So.
Okay. What's she live about?
She's live about, she's going to be like jokingly reacting to mean comments that she's had, and just generally having a chill out and a chit chat. So it's nice, kind of easy, free flowing, kind of fun live to decompress to after all this craziness and intense topic.
Mark and I will have to chat and say hello.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for coming up, even though it was brief. But yeah, like, just to finish on the David stuff, it's like the fact he lawyered up with Blair Burke, who's like the main, like, was Epstein, not Epstein, was Weinstein's lawyer, and was also, you know, it says a lot, you know what I mean? So, how powerful he is, or if he's got powerful people behind him, you know what I mean? And it makes you wonder how many more of these Hollywood or rich, powerful parties or like freak offs and blackmail rings are going on. Like how can these people sleep at night? Like, how are they not like completely paranoid like all the time that like their entire world's going to be shattered because their secret's going to be out? You know what I mean? Like, the pictures of them's going to be shown to the media. Like they must have like no conscience, or just be able to compartmentalize it. You know, it's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but thanks so much, everyone, for showing up and for being here. It's such
I'll hop in chat and let you end your show up, Jay.
Oh, thanks so much for coming up again, Sherry, even though it was brief, and for sharing the link to my live and promoting it. And same to ATS and Alex Erickson for all the help that you all do to help promote my channel. You know what I mean? I've been off for a while. I was off for a while, you know what I mean? I hadn't done a live or anything for a while, and just getting back into it really helps me. And the topics I talk about aren't very friendly with the algorithm, should I say?
Right.
So every little
You're
helps.
risking it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm for sure not going to be growing very quickly, but that's not really why I'm here. It's thanks, Cher, thanks for coming. And that's not really why I'm here. I just like getting my thoughts out and having other people be able to get their thoughts out freely about stuff, and not feel like they have to censor themselves or worry that they have to tone down their views because they might offend someone. Like, this is like a free flowing place, you know what I mean? And we're ideas and people can disagree. And I think that's the spirit that Alex Erickson and Amber have and Cher have in their chats, where like you're allowed to disagree, that it's allowed to have discourse, you're allowed to have differing views. Like people can not share my views on anything and still be here, you know what I mean? And I want that for people. and it's a good thing that we can have this discussions and not have to feel so tense and fearful when we talk. But yeah, stop myself from rambling on. Thank you everyone for coming, and I really appreciate you all. And I'll see you all really soon. Good night. Thanks.